She had death at her back, lesions on her brain, and 2 babies in diapers. At the age of 34, Natalie, now known as NatNat, found herself in a hospital bed, facing the very real possibility of paralysis or death. But what followed wasn't just survival, it was awakening. She didn't just recover physically, she came alive emotionally. Through somatic therapy, mindfulness, nervous system regulation, and radical self accountability, Natalie began to untangle decades of suppressed pain, performative strength, and self abandonment. And in doing so, she uncovered a deeper truth. We cannot heal what we continue to bypass. In this episode, Natalie brings grounded wisdom and embodied truth as we talk about what it really means to come to yourself, how emotional sobriety frees your nervous system, and why your pain isn't just your enemy. It's your invitation. If you've ever felt stuck in old patterns, afraid of your own emotions, or unsure how to even begin the healing journey, this one's for you. Let's unmask the self. But before we dive into this episode, you already know what time it is. Fire with me, y'all. Welcome to the Empowered Plates, Empowered Lives podcast. Y'all, welcome back to another episode of the Empowered Plates, Empowered Lives podcast, the safe space where survivor mode ends and your healing journey begins. So if you've been pushing through pain, fatigue, bloating, or hormone chaos, I want you to know your body isn't broken, it's speaking. Welcome to the Good Vibe Studio, NatNat.
I am so looking forward to this. Thank you for such a gracious and high energy introduction. When you were talking, I was like, who's she talking about? And it's like, oh, it's me. Like, oh my gosh.
All good, all good. NatNat, take us back to the moment where everything changed. What was happening in your life when you were diagnosed with brain lesions, and what did survival require of you?
Oh my gosh. That was like 11 years ago. You see, there were a lot of deaths that happened. My friend's son was murdered. My close friend, her mother had just died of pancreatic cancer. The relationship with the twins' father was not healthy. I was traveling around the country for work. So there was a lot of stress going on in my life. And with that requires not a very good lifestyle. And I was running away from pain, running away from self, running away from emotions, and being high functioning. And high functioning only lasts for so long before the body says, we can't do this anymore. And so, the lesions began with like significant fatigue. And I wasn't able to move. My body functions shut down. And so survival was for 3 months, I was in bed and I would go to the hospital and ask for help. And they kept just telling me I had the flu. And I was like, if I just have the flu, then I will take 10 flu shots because this doesn't feel like the flu. After the fifth visit, that's when they took me seriously and they did an MRI. And then it was like, oh, you have brain lesions and we're going to admit you, and you possibly only have 3 to 6 months to live. So it was as soon as I got in there, I had all the tests done. And the nurse, when she was taking the vials of blood, she is like, this is the most blood I've taken in one sitting from somebody for test results. Like they're testing you for everything. I almost spent 40 days in the hospital. And so, if they're keeping you in there, you're going through a lot of painful testing. So survival was really, it was a surrender. Uh, my oldest was only 18 at the time. And so he was taking care of the twins. And thankfully, a friend was like, send them to my place on the weekends. And really just trying to better understand myself. And then navigating through the medical system, they had no idea what was going on in my body. And things were changing that they couldn't explain and they weren't comprehending. And so I got to see the medical system in a different way also, that science is always questioning things and guessing things, and some of them don't know how to fully listen to the body as a holistic. It was different specialists for different things, and one person was shoving it to the other person shoving it to the other, and I'm like, but these two body parts communicate, so they're not humans and doctors trying to push off the work. Like, why is my endocrine system not working with my gut system, with my nervous system, with my brain, and all this kind of stuff? So I was discharged actually without a diagnosis. And without a diagnosis, that means you have no plan. And so I was out in the wilderness. And thankfully, a year later, that's when I discovered meditation in the form of TM, and that's transcendental meditation. And that's where the opening became, of really seeing what that survival has done in my life, what the trauma had done in my childhood, in the narration and how I identified with myself, and the psychosomatic thoughts that were driving into my body, and really just a moment of surrender and a lot of somatic release in the body. So that on the floor crying, and you see, with meditation, they tell you to create a quiet space in your room and, be there for 20 minutes. And I was like, the twins were 4, 5 at the time. 5 at the time, and they were like, I have twin boys, and they wake up at 5, like, there is no quiet time. So, I brought meditation to the living room, and when they were fighting and screaming, I just come back to my breath, come back to my breath, and not interfere, so I would see and interrupt some of the patterns that I had created of the way the twins should be, or finding who's the villain and who's the victim and all this kind of stuff. So it was a lot of direct life experiences that helped me to come back into my body, and for my body to communicate again, because their prognosis was, if I wasn't going to die, I'd be in a wheelchair, I wouldn't walk, and I wouldn't be driving and all that stuff. And thankfully, through mindfulness and meditation and really, honest conversations with myself, which is really challenging to do, and seeing the things that I allowed in my life. Yes, other people did things to me, yet I also have to recognize and take responsibility that I allowed it, because I allowed them to be in my energy and to be in my life. And also see that something was serving me in those relationships, because I didn't think I was good enough. I didn't think I had value. So really interrupting and being able to face those identities that I had created for myself, so that there could be a change and the lifestyle could change, and that the body could, come back into homeostasis and start communicating and everything else. I don't know if that answered your question with survival, or
I think it definitely did. First of all, I love that you hit on running away and high functioning. I feel like a lot of times we're not even aware that that's what we're actually doing when it comes to our life, running away and functioning at a high level. And I don't know if it's because we feel like we don't have the time to sit down and actually process. We don't have the support to sit down and process and figure it all out, or if life is just so demanding that it doesn't get the priority that it needs to figure out, why do I need to keep high functioning and what am I really running away from? And I think that's a big thing. So I'm really glad that you called that out, because there's a lot of us that are high functioning and just running away. And when you said it, it made me think about when I was diagnosed with stage 4 endometriosis, adenomyosis, polycystic ovarian syndrome, and they found 2 small fibroids at the time of my surgery. I, I didn't know what was happening when my body just croaked out in that debilitating pain. Like, it wasn't the exhaustion and fatigue that you experienced. It was more so at this particular point in time, I wasn't having a natural appetite. And when that pain hit, I was balled up. Like, no heating pad could do anything. I didn't relate it to my menstrual cycle at the time. I could barely walk. I could barely move. I would try to like ball down on the floor with the tile just to cool my body off because I was in so much pain and I wanted to kind of knock off or shave off the nausea that I felt of wanting to throw up, but then I didn't want to throw up because that would hurt even more with that abdominal pain that I was feeling. And I realized, like, when you were talking, I was like, I was definitely high functioning. Like I wasn't in the healthiest relationship. I wanted to make something work that wasn't working, that wasn't what I needed to be in. I didn't have a great work environment at the time that was very toxic, and I couldn't control all the different elements. And I was so focused on what I couldn't control, it was hard to navigate what I could control, knowing I had to depend on other people to do the role and what I was learning. I was like, yeah, I was definitely high functioning. And was I really running away? Or was I not aware and ignoring what I really needed to address because I wanted to live in the potential of what I had, or hoping that things would just get better over time and not me actually change? And so I'm really grateful that you were vulnerable and transparent with what it looked like when you were in literally survival mode. And I hate that you had to go through this experience and they didn't give a treatment plan and you were then left to try to figure it out by yourself, when you're discharged without any plan, any way to move forward. But then they see these lesions on your brain and they see what's actually happening. And it's like, okay, well, I don't really know what to do with you. I don't know what to do. And I kind of want to give some context because I don't think you're in the US. So I don't think you were navigating the US healthcare system. And sometimes I like to highlight that when I have international guests to let people know what it looks like to navigate and advocate for your health in different and various countries. So can you let us know where you were navigating?
I'm in Canada, in Ontario, so
There.
Ottawa. So our healthcare is free, even though we pay through our taxes. It is crumbling a lot, our healthcare. It isn't like it used to be at one time. So there's a lot of fighting, a lot of advocating. So, when you're already at your lowest point, when your body is shutting down, you neurally don't have the energy to advocate and fight for things. Like, I would have friends come in and a nurse would leave a syringe there to just go and flush out my IV and just reuse it. And a friend came in and they're like, "Why are they no, throw that out." And I'm like, I don't have." They're like, "That's an open, like, portal to your body. Like, they need to use a new one each time. Like, what the heck?" And I'm like, I was
Don't have
left in
the capacity,
hallways.
you're drained.
Yeah, I was left in hallways where they forgot about me and stuff like that,
Mm.
like, through tests and stuff. So, I learned a lot about what the system, the system is run by humans that have personal lives, that don't even have the tools. And, our hospitals are not privatized. They're public, and a lot of our hospitals are teaching hospitals. So it's a
Mhm.
lot of interns. And what I saw the interns have to go through, it's like, "You've been here for 2 weeks straight with no breaks, and how are you supposed to learn with this high functioning and retain and then also have a personal life? Like, how is this a healthy teaching environment for this?" And then I got to see, like, why a lot of them have to disconnect from their emotions. Like, I had one intern tell me that they were sick of hearing my tears and that they were gonna give me drugs. And I was like, "You better get used to my tears because I have a whole family that's attached to me and I have to make some decisions. And you're telling me I'm going to die. You don't know what this is. So of course I have to cry and process." Yet she couldn't handle it. And so, as much as you use the word hate, if I didn't go through the experiences that I did, I wouldn't have the awareness and the experience that I have. And I wouldn't know the nervous system so profoundly as I do right now. So, like, the book that I just wrote that's in editing phase right now is called The Gift Wrapped in Sandpaper. So a lot of times we have a gift and it's wrapped in sandpaper and we don't want to open the sandpaper because it doesn't look pretty and it's gritty and everything else. But we don't realize when we take that sandpaper off and we polish it, we realize what a gift it was and what a gift we have. Yet, hindsight is 2020 at the moment. We always ask why. And instead of, we don't really phrase empowering questions of what will I learn from this? Why am I in this? What is there to gain from this? And so in that, it was challenging. Thankfully, I do know how to advocate for myself and I do know how to communicate in ways, yet for a lot of people that don't have any medical knowledge, don't have any insight, it's a very difficult system to navigate through. Like my friend just passed away in November from cancer, and I was by her side for 18 months. And she was only given 3 months to live, and she lived for 18 months. She had pancreatic cancer and breast cancer. And when I would show up at her appointments and explain, they were like, "Are you a nurse or a doctor? Like, you understand all these terms?" And it's like, no, but I had to learn very fast till in my own experience. And because of that, I was able to hold space for my friend and other people when it comes to medical and really understanding the body in a simple term, not all these labels and everything else, which is needed. It's not like one or the other. Science is definitely needed. It has advanced us. It's We have gotten so far away of trusting the intelligence of the body and what it's communicating, and really further understanding what emotional suppression does, what emotional
Mm.
repression does, where grief holds, where, traumas, physical, sexual traumas, and when we haven't had a space to process, where these illnesses start to develop later on, and the body's just communicating, and it's like a threat to your life force, yet it's like, okay, how do we dive into this? And as you said at the beginning, where people are like, well, they don't have time, or they're running away or being high functioning. A lot of times too, it's scary. It's scary to go into
Very.
those shadow
You gotta
places.
have courage to do that. You gotta have
Yeah.
some form of resilient skills to face that past, to face those issues, to break that down. And I'm really grateful that you mentioned that. And then I also want to shout out to you because it was something else you said in regards to that beginning part, and then we'll move to the next question. But that meditating mom moment, you know what I mean? When you have boys fighting, you got to identify who's the victim, who's the villain. And you have this, you called it, was it, what type of meditation was it, Natalie?
TM, transcendental meditation. I started with the
Yeah,
mindful first, but then I
like
went
you,
into Vipassana. Yeah.
that part. And so you saying I had to make the living room my meditation space. Like you removed all excuses to make sure you gave yourself what you needed to continue to have that resiliency and be the mom that you were created to be, knowing that you had to help heal your body. You had to be your first healer. You had to put things in motion and figure out what was beneficial for you. And so I really love that. And I love that you said you had to have an honest conversation with yourself. And if you cannot have honest conversation with yourself, it's going to be very hard to have honest conversations with others. And in that honesty, you're able to find a support system. You're able to find people who can advocate for you. You're able to find people who can help you on your healing journey when you have those honest conversations with yourself, to be able to then translate that and advocate and articulate that to other people. And so I also wanted to shout that out as well, because I thought that was beautiful. And then you also talked about emotions just now. What does emotional sobriety mean to you, and why do so many people confuse control or numbing for actual regulation?
Well, I actually have a workshop called Emotional Sobriety that I'm actually teaching right after this podcast. And, emotional sobriety is being able to face yourself, to be able to face those emotions and not just face them, feel them. Because many of us think our feelings, or like you said, we numb or we suppress or we try to run away from it. Many of us at a young age, those big emotions weren't accepted. We were told, don't cry, don't get angry. I'll give you something to be angry about. I'll give you something to be disappointed about. So, in that, we created a script that these are unsafe emotions and I shouldn't be feeling them. So, we started believing the lie and started separating ourselves from our emotional body where it's giving us information. And just because it's giving you information, it doesn't mean to take direction or action with it. It's just a way to express yourself. And so to come back into feeling your emotions, it requires safety because your body has determined that these emotions, we are not safe to feel them. And you're here to create that presence, to release that armament, that safeguarding, that, yeah. And when it comes up, it doesn't feel good. It's a tsunami of things that go on, like tightening of chest. You feel like your skin's on fire. You want to rage. Your it's somatic is like just tensed up. All kinds of different things that people feel. And so it's teaching yourself to come back into the body and identify these sensations and listen. Many of us want to think our way through rather than just feel and let it pass through and just listen. Many of us don't know how to have a space to listen to ourselves. We want to analyze ourselves to make it stop, where it's like, no, just let it pass through so it doesn't have to keep repeating itself and you can better understand it. And you allow yourself to be human. That's what we're here to do is have a human experience. Yet many of us have made it that it's a sinful thing to feel emotions, that it's a weakness, that it's a flaw. And that's where a lot of people are getting sick because there's some emotions that they're repressing or suppressing and not allowing that full charge to be released from the body. So it just keeps looping and building up inside the body.
Thank you for breaking that down. I got it. Feel and
Feel.
listen versus think and analyze. And that's where you actually can better understand yourself and humanize the experience of this thing called living. And so I'm really glad that you talked about that. And I actually was going to kind of talk to you about that, Luke, because you just said it. So, what role does the nervous system play in keeping us stuck? And how do we interrupt the cycle without shame and that habit of, like you said, thinking and trying to analyze our way, and we should feel like this or do like that? What can we do to truly interrupt that cycle?
Would you be willing to go into a mindful moment right now so I can show a tool of interacting with that nervous system?
Permission granted.
And for many listeners, you listen to a podcast while driving or when you're needing your visuals. So, safety first. The closing of the eyes, please don't do that. Yet, all the other prompts you're able to follow through. So, I'm going to ask you to get comfortable in your seating. And if it's safe to do so, gently close your eyes. And you're going to begin breathing in and out through your nose. And you're going to bring your awareness to watching your breath go in and out. You're not going to try and control your breath. You're just going to be aware of its rhythm, allowing it to guide you into your body. There may be some sensations or feelings coming up, and that's okay. Let them come up. You're safe to feel, you're safe to let go. Surrender the need to control, release the need to resist, and just be. Be with your breath. Drop deeper into your body. Now, there may be some thoughts or memories, or maybe even a to do list that's popped up into your mind. And that's okay. Gently bring your awareness back to your breath, creating space between the awareness and the thoughts, and dropping deeper into the body, allowing yourself to just be in the moment, be in the stillness. Again, more thoughts may have popped up. Gently bring your awareness back to your breath, beginning again, creating even more space between the awareness and the thoughts, and completely surrendering into the body, allowing yourself to just be with your breath, be in the moment, allowing there to be a little bit more ease, openness, and also allowing you to check in with yourself of what you may be feeling or sensing, and seeing that the breath is there, yet the thoughts don't have to be center stage. the breath can be. Now, while still staying with your breath at your own time and at your own pace, you're going to gently open your eyes while still staying with your breath. So, this is a simple tool that you're able to do as a check in with yourself. We're distracted and stimulated all the time. And as you mentioned, a lot of us have the excuse that we don't have time. So, as you saw, if you can close your eyes and really just take that moment for yourself, you get a really deep recharge, yet driving, sitting on the toilet, washing the dishes, even when you're watching something, you can take a moment to pause and go inward to engage with that nervous system and see what's going on internally that we tend to cut ourselves off and not listen to, not check in with ourselves. There may be an irritation of a meeting that you had in the morning time with a coworker that is charging up inside you, but you never took the time to really just process that and listen to what it felt like. And so it's just ruminating it and looping inside you because you haven't taken that moment to acknowledge it and let it pass through you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I appreciate the experience. I definitely um, needed the reminders to come back to focusing on the breath when thoughts started to think about other things, like you said, the to do list, other activities, scheduling. But what I enjoyed most about I call it deep breathing. And this one was just a mindful moment just to focus on breath, not even deep breathing. I like to realize in breath when I start focusing on it, where my tension lies in my body. And I automatically could see, if y'all are tuned in on the video version, I could see my shoulders drop because I was more tense and sitting up. And so noticing where I'm holding tension in the body is very important for me when I'm doing deep breathing. So I enjoyed the body scan point of that. But Natalie, you work with people in deep pain. What are the signs that someone's behavior is being hijacked by unresolved emotional states or unprocessed trauma? What are some of those
Well,
signs?
I think one of the biggest indicator is not being able to identify what you're feeling. Many of them don't even know how to express what the emotion is that they're feeling. Another one is high functioning, being productive all the time, so you just have to be distracted from it. Another one is just physically seeing the pain that people are going through. Emotional pain has an impact on the physical part of the body. And so, you know, being able to articulate it is one thing. I see things that a lot of people don't see. So I can see certain things in people's energy and body that they may not want to reveal or may not even be aware for themselves because nobody's given them a language for it. They just thought that this is supposed to be the norm.
Gotcha. And so those three signs, potential signs, could be not being able to identify what you're actually and truly feeling. And
Not
then
able to cry.
being productive all the time, just having to be productive, needing to um, just keep doing things, and then seeing the physical pain in
Mhm,
others
mhm.
are some of the ways. Thank you, Natalie. I just want to make sure I got some of those signs of people who are really just in deep pain.
I think
What
another
is
one too is not being able to cry.
mm,
Just
not
holding
being
it
able
all the time and doing this armament that I don't have time for that and just not realizing you're not even able to have compassion and sensitivity for yourself and giving yourself that permission.
thank you. I was adding that in. Y'all, if you're tuned in on YouTube, watching this on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to the channel and leave a comment letting us know you're here. You could just type the word here, letting us know that you're here, you're vibing with us. And if you're listening on your favorite podcast distribution platform, make sure you follow the show, give the show a rating, and check the show notes to connect and support the work that we're doing, the vibes and the value that we are putting out there based on our education and our experience. So, Natalie, what does it actually mean to come home to yourself? Is it a destination? Is it a constant practice? What does that actually mean?
It's a constant practice because we're always lured to come out of ourselves. It's always coming back to receiving ourselves, receiving self, because we've been lured that there's something magical on the outside of us that will fix all of our problems, will make us feel better. Where it's no, the experience is being within ourselves and having the capacity to experience the spectrum of what life is. So coming back home is being able to settle into your body where many people are not in their body. They're from the neck up. They're analyzing, thinking things through, being able to gauge and control what this is going to look like so they don't have to feel their emotions. Where when you're feeling your emotions, you're not trying to predict what's going to happen. You're able to show up and trust yourself that you'll have the capacity to navigate through the experience.
Girl, when you said you living life from the neck up, I was like, well, why y'all even need arms and legs and everything else if you just living it from the neck up? I just thought, I was like, that you might as well be a quadriplegic. You're not even living life like that. Like, relax, feel, have compassion, be present. So when you said that, that was the imagery I got. I was like, dang. But I like that you gave that imagery. I like that you gave that description. And something that I love is that you said it was a constant practice, which I just alley-ooped it to you because I knew you was gonna slam dunk it. Which is the same way I talk about the my healing, my journey. And that's a big thing because it is a journey. It's nonstop. There is no destination. You're constantly finding ways to live life in a way that you thrive and you continue to move away from survival mode. And so your thoughts, your feelings, your beliefs are always shaping and shifting based on your experiences that you experience every single day. So you're not even the same person you were last year because you have different experiences, different life challenges, obstacles, different people who've come into your life, different things you've witnessed that have now shifted your thoughts, your feelings, your beliefs. And those things, they play a part in your behaviors and how you act out, how you make decisions. And now your life is constantly changing. But to be able to be at a place where you want to enjoy more life and you want to continue to evolve and you want to elevate this thing called a lifetime, it's definitely a journey and not a destination. Yes, there might be certain aspects that are cornerstones of your life, but it's a huge journey. And I'm just so grateful that you also shared that aspect because for some people, that could be a stopping point for them. For you, it could have been, okay, I spent 3 months in pain, exhausted, barely can get out of bed. You could say, this is it for me. But no, you were adamant about getting the help that you needed. You were adamant about making sure that someone saw you. You were adamant about feeling your feelings while you were in the care of other people who weren't able to feel. And that right there took emotional intelligence, but more than that, it took a level of resilience and courage and boldness and faith to not give up on you, let alone the family you had created that were also hoping and wishing and wanting their mother to still be here. And so I'm just grateful that we see it as a journey and we see it as a constant practice to continue to live with purpose and be intentional. You talked about healing doesn't mean escaping pain, it means holding it differently. Can you speak to what you've learned about pain, embodiment, and freedom?
What have I learned? Pain is a teacher. Every time we experience pain, we learn a new part of ourselves. We evolve into a new space. We feel it differently. And so, a lot of times, people confuse pain with suffering. And suffering is the thoughts that we create and the rejection of reality. See, when we want things to be differently than what they are, it creates suffering because that's not what reality is. And therefore, the biggest one that really hits us with suffering is grief. So when somebody passes away, it takes some adaptation to be in this new reality because your world has been broken open and you're still longing for what you knew, and you're longing for that person to be here so you can have that sense of co-regulation with your nervous system. And so, that in itself is a process, and it takes feeling your emotions and the messiness of it. I'm still going through grief, like I mentioned, with my friend passing away at the end of November. And right now, what I know, because I'm in my body, I don't like this season right now because she was starting to decline and in the hospital, and the weather was changing right now and getting cold. So now that when I'm feeling the cold, I'm feeling the grief, and it's like, I don't want to, and I want to scream, and I'm reliving the memory. And some of those memories I wasn't fully in my subjective because I was holding space for her and other people. So now my body's like, okay, all the stuff that we weren't able to feel, like, go through it. Yet if I didn't have this awareness, I wouldn't be able to clue in that the cold is activating these memories. And I'm walking through, because October will be like hospital and November is hospital, like, in all these things. Yet I have this awareness. Many people don't know that around a certain time why they act a certain way. It's because the memories are being relived in the body. Your nervous system doesn't know past, present, or future. It knows is sensations and memories and the environment that activate those things. So if you're not taking awareness of, like, oh, like you said, when we're doing the meditation or when you do deep breathing, let me do a body scan. Where am I tense? Where am I knotting up? Where am I holding things that I can just let go, that aren't needed, that this survival mechanism doesn't have to be activated here right now. Yet many of us haven't been taught how to tune into our body, to regulate our nervous system and tell it it's okay. We can be on ease, we can be on rest right now. Yet that in itself, when you've experienced a lot of pain, physical, emotional, psychological, it's visceral that that stillness doesn't feel safe. So it takes a lot of work to recalibrate and retell your body that it's okay to be this way. We're safe to feel this and to go through it. So when we do the work of understanding our body, being honest with ourselves with the memory, that's where we can see a deep change in what there is, and the honesty is needed to be there.
And we're kind of coming right back to that honesty, right? That honest conversation with yourself. I love that you said pain is a teacher. Pain is not suffering. Y'all, if you're still tuning in and you're locked in on the conversation, drop the word pain in the comments, because I know a lot of people feel as though pain is suffering because they're suffering from pain. But you said suffering is more so the thoughts. And I like that pain, when you said pain is a teacher, it resonated with me because it took a 4-hour surgery for me to recognize that pain was not normal. And that pain that I had normalized since my menstrual cycle started, and there were different areas like bowel movement pain, not just your normal cramping that we would always say, oh, well, you're cramping, that's going to happen. That bowel movement pain when my period would come, the irregularness of my period, just that sharp pain that I would find a way to validate or have others validate for me to just make it normalized. That was teaching me something. That debilitating pain that almost caused me to slide into the lane with the 18-wheeler coming behind me that almost took my life. That pain is what took me to the ER. That pain is what allowed me to start going on the journey to discovering what was happening inside of my body. That pain taught me that I needed to change my lifestyle. That pain taught me about unhealthy relationships, not having boundaries. That pain taught me about putting toxic things on my body, in my body. That pain taught me that the unresolved issues, trauma, processing, that pain taught me that taking on any and everything, but not actually showing up for myself, loving myself, caring for myself, knowing myself, that pain taught me something. And so, like, I'm so grateful that you reminded us that pain is a teacher. But what we do with that honest conversations, those honest thoughts, those honest feelings, those honest memories, that was a big one right there, too, Nat. The memories of what you have are just being relived in the body. When you start feeling that anxiety pump up, when you start feeling that sadness or that depression come in, you're thinking about the memories that you had at one particular point in time of somebody that might be gone, or the lifestyle that you used to live. Like that's real too. That's a grief process as well, because that's not who you used to be anymore. You don't make the decisions that you used to make anymore, because you have been changing, you have been evolving. And so even with the memories come a level of intentionality. And so, like, I'm really grateful that you walked us through that thought process and that awareness for us to be able to put context, honesty, and realness with what's actually happening and how the body could be responding to that. And so let's kind of talk a little bit about safe spaces, Natalie. Why is community so vital to the healing process, and how can someone discern what safe truly feels like in their body?
Well, we are meant to have human touch. It releases oxytocin. So community, with technology helps to deal with some of that oxytocin, because when we feel a sense of safety in that you can witness me and I can reveal my vulnerability and you don't pull away, you actually pull into me, that creates an oxytocin release too, that there's safety, that I can be myself, and that there's an openness. So community is really, and those safe spaces aren't always, it takes time to build that in certain ways, but it also takes communication and trusting yourself, that if you feel that your feelings have been activated, to take responsibility for yourself and to communicate, because community doesn't mean we're always going to get along. It doesn't mean that words aren't going to harm. Like our language, as empowering as it is, it's very harmful. When we speak on trauma, neglect, when people hear those words, it activates so much in them. So, as much as language can be healing, it's also harmful. So, in community, it takes that space of let's communicate and better understand ourselves. Like, what was the intention? Just because you heard something, it doesn't mean that you really understand what the intention was for that person. So let there be space that people can communicate. And once we can build that, then there becomes a more opening of curiosity can be unleashed. Because many of us don't even know how to be curious. We don't even know how to do critical thinking. We want everybody else to give us permission to tell us what to do, and we don't even know how to trust ourselves. And in community, other people can usually see the elephant in the room before you can. So when you're
Mm.
in community, you're able to tell your story. And if you're willing, somebody could give some perspective of their own story, or give a perspective of what they see in you that you may have seen or may not have seen. And then it opens up something that you're able to bring out that shadow into your light, because many of us have shadows and we think that they're an evil thing, where it's like, no, it's just they're hiding from your light of awareness, because you have an image that, say for instance, you're a messy person but you want to look like you're such an organized person. Well, you don't want anybody knowing that you're messy. So of course you're hiding that in the shadows. And it feels like an evil thing. And you can't come out here because the other people will make fun of me and not respect me and everything else. These are just the simple things that we do in our own personal lives that run havoc within ourselves and how we feel in the world, and how we when we're relating with people. Yet more when we are in community and you can just show up as you are, like, like the infamous thing with church when I hear show up as you are, but you still have to have that hat, you still have to be in your Sunday's best, you still have to do, and it's like, if I'm struggling and I can barely put myself together, and then you're telling me I have to come all polished before I can come to God, it's like it doesn't work when you're trying to do healing. So showing up as you are is that community to help you, find yourself, be with self, and then build that those boundaries and build that self-worth and that wholeness that you already have and sit in that. And from there, things just flourish in such a beautiful way because you can be honest and like the honesty and truthful and be authentic with yourself.
I like it because I like you said. I love that you said you have to be able to communicate. That space needs to spark curiosity. It makes you want to think more, be critical thinking, expose different things. And something I love about having the Empowered Plates, Empowered Lives podcast is every conversation should spark some level of curiosity to make you then go dig a little deeper to see, is this something I want to consider in my own healing journey? Is this a path for me or someone that I love? Based on what I'm learning, let me now take this insights and go, see what I can do with it if I want to, if it resonated with me. And so I really like that curiosity part. And I hope that the Empowered Plates, Empowered Lives podcast community and listeners are really vibing with that and really starting to see, okay, we have all of these conversations happening. How can I get something from this that they may not have ever even thought about had they not tuned in and listened? And then I like that accountability, what you're talking about, the light of awareness, because a lot of times we don't always see everything from all different angles. And so being able to have someone that you believe is safe or in a space that's safe, that care about you, trust, and there's a level of responsibility to yourself and to others in this space. I'm glad that you brought that responsibility word up because you said it at the beginning and I loved it because you said you have a responsibility with yourself. And how did that serve you when you were in the different experiences that you experienced instead of always being that victim? So I wanted to touch back on that because you brought the word back up. And so I just wanted to make sure I caught it, but also knowing about showing up as yourself. And if you can't show up as yourself, you, like you also said, but you got to know yourself to show up as yourself. And so that too is a journey, while finding community, finding self within before getting that community out. So I'm really grateful that you were able to really articulate and break that down for us. So I kind of want to ask about dancing because you mentioned play and dancing as healing tools. How can we use play to process stuck emotions and move from survival mode into joy? Because it's definitely something that is free 99, correct?
Yes, all the time. That's the one tool, especially when you're activated. Music has a way of because we're feeling bodies that think. So our nervous system goes from sensations and feelings. And so music sends a vibration. And dance, when we move our body, it allows the body to move and express. And without it having to be going through the filter of analyzing and making it perfect and polished, the body can just express it in a way just to release it. And it doesn't mean that you have to make meaning with it. A lot of stuff that we experience, we don't have to make meaning of it, but our mind wants to make meaning of it so it can have a sense of control. And that's the work of not allowing the mind to want to be in control of making meaning of everything. So dance just allows us to express in, be it slow dancing, high elevated dancing, sensual dancing, partner dancing. It allows the body to express and move in the way that it needs to without being in that filter of perfection and what it needs to look like. So, and the play is really important because that's what activates our curiosity. So allowing ourselves just to be in unstructured areas and just allow the curiosity to go and explore without it having to be productive or make meaning or make sense or having it to contribute to something. It's just allowing your energy and curiosity to be untethered and to explore and learn new things. And when you do that play, that's when other things start to rise up because your body feels safe. Oh, we can show this to you and you aren't going to overreact, overact, be overactivated and react in certain ways. So that play allows that safety to happen within your body. So things start communicating and the armament can surrender and, things can flow through. And then there becomes more openness so that when life comes in, it's not hitting all kinds of stuff because the stuff isn't there anymore. And joy can be in that default that even when in pain, joy can still be felt. It's not one or the other. They're always all there. It's just most times we're just focused on one thing rather than the all and many.
Gotcha. Especially since we're so complex in being and made up of, and I think that's a big thing. But I gratefully appreciate you breaking down the importance of music, dance, and play, and how that really plays a role in our well-being, as well as releasing emotions. So we're going to get into vitality sparks. All right, and so this is a segment where it's short responses and we're just going to get through the words. All right, so or the questions to the best of your ability. All right, you ready, NatNat?
Let's play.
All right, so here we go. One word to describe your body before you started your healing journey.
Complicated.
One word for now.
Light.
What's a sensation in the body you've learned to love instead of fear?
Constriction.
What's one somatic ritual you swear by?
Breathing. Focus on my breath.
The
Deep
emotion
breath.
that taught you the most about yourself.
Helplessness.
Finish this sentence. Coming home to yourself means.
Being in your body.
All right, last two questions. Give some insight for the girl dads, the role models, the father figures, the partners, the spouses, the brothers of women, young girls who are struggling with pelvic pain, heavy periods, fatigue, bloating, pretty much maybe diagnosed or undiagnosed with endometriosis, adenomyosis, PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome, and fibroids. How could they be a part of the healing journey and be more supportive?
First, it's taking a moment to thank your body. Even though it's going through so much pain, it's communicating something. And it's beginning to allow yourself to have a sensitivity of this isn't supposed to be the norm. So how can I allow sensitivity to come back in here so I can let the body communicate what it's holding on to? Because what I have witnessed in a lot of clients and friends, I have a friend that is going through the same thing right now, and there's things and memories that get held on to that we don't feel our emotions. And when we don't feel our emotions, they get stored in our body in ways. And science is only starting to catch up with this now in little parts. I'm sure it will catch up a little bit more, but these energies have significant impacts. So being able to honor, because our reproductive system is a very powerful energy. It's a life force. And so it's holding on to things. And it may be holding on to things not in your lifetime. It may be your mother's or your grandmother's lifetime that got passed down. So allowing there to be communication so that the males that are supporting women, that they can have a sensitivity with this and know, how do I support it? How do I allow myself to be sensitive with this and not pull away from it?
Come
How
on
can I
with being sensitivity. I love that. I've never had that response yet for the girl dads, the father figures, the spouses, the partners, is being sensitivity, like having that moment of realizing you can be just as sensitive in this moment with them. I think that definitely brings a whole new aspect to it. Thank you, Nat. All right,
Yeah.
last question. If you could have a meal with any historical figure, who would it be and what would y'all eat?
Hmm. Would it be? That's a good one. Um, Historical person. I think it might be Nelson Mandela.
Okay.
I would want to know what, well, I know. I just would like to know how he faced the pain, faced his emotions, and still chose to have his heart open and welcome the people that harmed him.
I love it. And what y'all
I would
eating?
what I would like to know though, was that in a performance way or
Mhm.
was it in a genuine way? Is we can perform a good act for people and show them this is the way it is, yet was it really a genuine way?
Okay. I like it. What you and Nelson eating?
Well, I want some oxtail and some rice and maybe, I'm going in my Caribbean roots. Yet I'd like to find out, some of uh, the the meals that he ate also.
Okay, so it's gonna be a combination of your
Yeah,
oxtails, your Caribbean food with his African food. Okay.
yeah, African
Yeah.
food. And I'd like to know what he ate in prison. What did he have to go
Mm,
through?
I like it. All right. Well, let the people know where they can connect with you, find you, be on the lookout for the new book. Come on, author.
Thank you, thank you. You can find me at liftoneself.com, liftoneself.com. You can do a discovery call with me to see if we can work together. I do one-on-one sessions. I have my workshop, Emotional Sobriety. I have my books shortly coming out. I also have a podcast called Lift Oneself, which I would love for you to be a guest on. I also can be found on all social media under Lift Oneself. And I just really want to take a moment to thank you for creating this space of taking your own testament and sharing it with the world. You significantly have done alchemy in your life, that you took those impurities and you turned them into gold, but you didn't keep the gold for yourself. You're sharing it with others so that you can build that community, that you can brighten the world and show that there's a significant way that when we open up, we can be so connected more. So thank you for doing that warrior work and for having such a great podcast. And I'm thankful for this energy and this conversation that we had. And I can't wait to have you on mine.
Yes, ma'am. You're welcome. Thank you for seeing all of that in me and recognizing that. I appreciate you, NatNat. Thank you, y'all. Make sure you hit the show notes and find all the great things for NatNat, and then go check out her podcast. So if you've already subscribed to the Empire Place, Empire Lives podcast, go follow Lift Oneself podcast. Check out the episode and be on the lookout for my episode on her podcast, y'all. But just to let you know, 5 costly mistakes keeping you stuck in pelvic pain and fatigue and how to break free naturally is a free training. Check the show notes. I'm offering it. I want you to utilize this heal method to adopt a lifestyle naturally. Y'all, it's your healthy habits and lifestyle coach, Jovonnie, host of the Empire Plates, Empire Lives podcast. Thanks for vibing with me, y'all.